you look at Last Jedi, I honestly, I don't know anybody out here, maybe 2 people in my life, and hundreds of people I've talked to that like the movie. All the filmmakers I know that won't talk about it publicly. All the people I know internally, there's all these people that won't, even journalists that gave it positive reviews are like, I do that because I need to maintain my access. Like, privately, there's a lot of people that really don't like that film.
The thing about it too, though.
So you're saying the ones who gave it good reviews really are phony reviews?
But the other thing too is just the fact that,
100%,
like, you know, it should be.
I can't name them, but yes.
No, well, of course, yes.
You've said in interviews a few times that you kind of fundamentally disagreed with the story arc of your character in The Last Jedi.
No.
What would you have liked to have seen happen? Did you have a sense of where you wanted it to go?
Well,
what are the characteristics and values that you've always felt were most important about Luke?
How do you feel about the future of the franchise?
So in The Last Jedi, Luke disappears from his robe, you know. Now, look. What is going on? Okay? What the hell is going on now?
wouldn't I love to know? Someone said, hey, if you really disappeared totally, wouldn't your mechanical hand clank down on the rock? I don't care anymore on that level because Han Solo is gone. I still haven't accepted it.
Would you be?
Well, I was really shocked to read the script, and I thought, really? This is what has become of me? Who says so?
I got into trouble because I was quoted as saying to Rian that I fundamentally disagree with everything you decided about Luke.
It's a daunting switch for 66-year-old Mark Hamill through 4 decades of Star Wars films and fans. Mark, over here! The embodiment of Luke Skywalker.
It was really hard for me, very hard. Well, as Luke says, and I agree with,
this is not going to go the way you think.
That was certainly true for me. Yum.
Yum, yum.
Yes. Yes, of course, because it shows Luke was putting on a facade in front of Rey and even Chewie, you know, that he was embittered and, you know, sort of a broken man. And I think the fact that he could let his emotions out when he was by himself would have made an impact on the audience because it allowed them to grieve the loss of Han Solo just the way Luke felt it. They had time for me to milk that big alien, but to show any human emotion, no, we don't have time for that. But, you know, again, it's not my call.
I know that initially you weren't sure if this was the right way to go with your character, but the phenomenal response, I guess, tells you that people really enjoyed it.
Give the people what they want. Kill Luke.
Man, what would the Joker say about this movie?
He just, you know, he'd laugh it off.
Yeah.
It plays like a silent movie. And it's my first silent movie since Force Awakens. Like a silent movie. And I haven't done a silent movie since The Force Awakens.
Well, indeed, yeah, but that's...
Exhilaration of being recognized this way. I haven't been this speechless since Force Awakens. And I tweeted, great, it's my first silent film since The Force Awakens.
Hello.
This is just a cameo at the end, which I'm very good at.
We missed a shot. We should have just had you come out. Yeah.
With actual dialogue.
Yeah, the point was for you to not say anything, right?
That would have been good. I should have thought of that.
Or just throw our water away or something like that.
Yes. Well, see, again, I mean, and I told Brian this, it's no surprise. I said, I just fundamentally disagree with your concept of this character and how you use him. I have more lines with you than I do in the movies.
What are the characteristics and values that you've always felt were most important about Luke?
He's a Jedi, and that represents a sort of virtue that is almost unattainable for a human.
They said, knowing you, you'll get a job here, but they'll make you work in the parking lot so that you're near the fun but not in the fun.
The legendary Mark Hamill working in the parking lot. That's kind of what it was like in
Force Awakens. Because, you know, I was near the fun, but stuck on an island, not actually in the fun.
Looking back, was there any of the criticisms that you read that you may feel is now kind of fair?
No, no. But
I'm happy to ruin people's childhoods.
The thing is, though, especially with a Star Wars movie, having grown up as a Star Wars fan.
Rian is so capable, such a really wonderful person, such a good writer, such a good director.
I write sporadically and badly with no rhyme or reason whatsoever. I don't think I could ever like actually write for a living, like write for hire, because I take so long to write, and I just it's bad, man. It's no. But that's kind of the way I write, because I'm kind of a fundamentally lazy writer. Yeah, steal from the best, right? No, that's the way you put it. Yeah.
Kill him. I want every gun we have to fire on that net. Do it.
Do it!
On my command! Fire!
Heard that they used Rian Johnson's first draft. And I must say, especially for a movie this big, that is unheard of.
And the first draft of The Last Jedi was written before The Force Awakens, so it had nothing to do with fan reaction. Holy God.
Johnson told Entertainment that he had to find a way to kill Luke off in the movie no matter what, just because he saw Luke's presence in the sequel trilogy standing in the way of the new characters.
Give the people what they want. Kill Luke.
Rian is so capable, such a really wonderful person.
He's just a wonderful person. I'd follow him anywhere.
He's an asshole. What was the most difficult part about directing a Star Wars film?
Me.
No.
I know. I kid.
Yeah, I guess good idea, so use them.
Well, they're good. Okay. I'm good.
Because I said, I have to pretend that this is begin with, but I'm grateful because Can I just say, though, a lot of times I would say to Rian, we got to think about the fans. And he said, no, we got to think about the story, and we got to think about our movie, which it was very informative to me, because I would say, like, but we really have to think of what the audience expects and what they want. And he says, no, we have to do the opposite. We have to give them something they don't expect that we want.
Our own kind of internal
I know,
compass.
when I would say, we got to remember what the fans think, he says, no, we got to remember what we think. Which, I mean, that was a really a pivotal moment for me. He was my seeing eye dog. So if I've succeeded in any way, it's all because of Rian. And also, if I fail, it's also because of Rian.
Thank you, Mark. Daisy.
See, a Jedi never takes responsibility.
You've said in interviews a few times that you kind of fundamentally disagreed with the story arc of your character in The Last Jedi.
No.
What would you have liked to have seen happen? Did you have a sense of where you wanted it to go?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, I regretted saying that because that's something that should stay internal between the director and the writer and so forth. And I said it before I saw the movie put together. What I had a hard time with, I said, even though I picked Kylo Ren wrongly as the next hope, and that's on my conscience, I still said to Ryan, I said, a Jedi would never give up. A Jedi wouldn't cut off his telepathic connection with his sister. It's just too radical. So I had to make up a backstory for myself that's much more severe than is in the movie, you know?
It's even the things that I said, like, well, wait a second. You know, I'm going to burn down the library. Don't try and stop me, you know? And then Yoda raises a finger, does it for me, and I go, but this is just sacred Jedi text. Hey, make up your mind.
That's Luke.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said, oh, okay, not only is he a broken man, he's certifiably insane. No, I can play that.
Typecasting.
I mean, it says right in the script, forget the past, kill it if you have to. You're doing a pretty good job.
I'm trying.
I mean, it's stated right out, forget the past, kill it if you have to. And he's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. Forget the past, kill it if you have to. And I said to Carrie, they're doing a pretty good job. First Han Solo, now me. If this is a pattern, you're next, right?
I think that's been going around online, and I wanted to talk to you about, is there's a lot of people that have been wondering what should happen with Leia in Episode 9.
Right.
And some people have suggested that the possibility of recasting Carrie in a respectful way, and other people, because she was supposed to have, the rumor is, a big part in Episode 9. Yeah. For people that are thinking that, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it'd be tough recasting only because she's so indelibly linked with that character. They've already ruled out the idea of, you know, computer generating a performance like they did with Peter Cushing. So, gee, that's got to be a really, not an insurmountable problem, but, you know, I know that the script had been developed enough so that when we lost her, they had to go back to square one. But she's irreplaceable, you know, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, completely. I completely agree. I wouldn't want her recast personally. I don't. But you know, some fan, because if she has a big part in the movie,
I don't know.
It's
so tough, isn't it?
I know you're a big.
How do you feel about the future of the franchise?
It'll be endless and here long after I'm gone. But I mean, I like being in the audience. It's a lot less stressful. That's why I like Rogue One so much. There was 100% less me. Anybody know what JJ stands for, by the way? Is it true his name? It's Jar Jar Abrams? Nobody knows.
It is actually true.
It's a mystery what those initials stand for.
No, you're right. One thing in the documentary that kept coming back up was you saying that you fundamentally disagreed with Rian Johnson's.
I wish they hadn't done that. I'll tell you why. Because that should remain in the rehearsal process.
Mm-hmm.
That should be between the screenwriter and the director. And I regret saying that out loud. And I said it before I saw the whole movie put together. And it prejudices people in a way that's unfair, because people that are unhappy with the movie, you know, will cite that and say, see Hamill hated it too. Yeah. And look, I mean, it was unexpected, you know, because Luke was always so optimistic and positive, but you know, it's got to move on. I mean, and if they like it, I'm happy. If they don't like it, then there'll be another shiny object just around the corner.
Hello. How's it going?
And I said to Ryan, I said, a Jedi never gives up. You know, even if I pick the next, you know, the New Hope, and he turned out to be the new Hitler, it would be a shock. But I certainly wouldn't cut off my telepathic communications with my sister. All these things. But I'm old. Number one, Luke was the most optimistic, hopeful character, and now he's this miserable, you know, despondent hermit.
Can I ask what your reaction was when you first read the script from Ryan?
Well, listen,
be honest.
No, I was amazed at the complexity of it, that it was so challenging, the range of emotions.
every color in the palette. Mine happened to be of a darker hue. It's fullest. I mean, you were asking earlier, are you going to come back? I don't care anymore on that level because Han Solo is gone, Luke is gone, and you just can't get the band back together the way you wanted it to be, and it shouldn't be that way. So it is what it is. My view of the character was that he was the most idealistic character. He was the most optimistic character, and I said, you know, even if I did something ghastly, like picking the wrong young student, that I would redouble my efforts. I wouldn't just go off to an island for 30 years. I said to Rian, you got it wrong. Jedis don't give up, much less go hide off on an island. So right at the beginning, we were completely at odds. I kept saying, why would Luke turn off his telepathic powers with his sister?
But we've waited 40 years for his return. Amazing. Luke is back.
He is.
Oh, your best advice you've ever received?
Persist. Never give up.
Thank you so much.
Great night.
And that, of course...
I've been a fan of his for years, and like I say, it's amazing. You don't always want to meet your heroes. Sometimes you can be disappointed, and turns out he's one of the nicest people on earth. My character always represented hope and optimism, and now here I am, very pessimistic and disillusioned, and I had a beginning, a middle, and an end once, and then I had a beginning and an end. No middle, but that's fine. So I didn't really have a beginning, a middle, and an end. I had a beginning and an end. So I'm really good with the fact that, you know, I had a wonderful entrance in 7, and I had a wonderful exit in 8. I couldn't ask for anything more. Whatever they do, I'm fine with 9. There's the hashtag, I'm fine with 9. Not in it, or I'm in it, I'm fine with 9, because I had a perfect entrance in 7, and Rian gave me a perfect exit in 8.
For coming back in episode 9?
I had a spectacular entrance, an amazing exit, so, you know, I'm whatever happens, I'm fine with 9. Hashtag, I'm fine with 9. I would go on, but they told us to keep our speeches short, and I'm much too modest to show you the Lucasfilm Disney trademark on my bottom. I mean, I'm one of those guys that was saying to the Lucasfilm people, I said, we've got to get everybody that's still around to be in this movie. Where's Lando?
Yeah.
I want Billy D back.
Billy D.
But see, I didn't get to meet anybody. I read the script. I mean, people say, were you shocked that you were only in the last minute of the movie of Force Awakens? I said, no, I was shocked that Han Solo is gone. So that means I'll never get to have a scene with him. I'll probably never get to work with Harrison again. But, you know, it's...
I just wanted to thank Mark Hamill for being so candid throughout the entire process and skirting all the Hollywood BS, seems like. And congratulations on such an eye-opening documentary as well.
So you were the absolute star, I think, of The Last Jedi. Yes.
I was?
Yes, you were, yeah.
Because I said, I have to pretend that this is like a small art house film that the critics will rave about, but the public will roundly reject.
Sworn an oath to not give away any secrets about the next film, but I'm going to give one away. This is Mark's best performance as Luke Skywalker to date, and you will see that I am right. Thank you, Mark.
Comedy, which I think is so important. People forget these movies were made for children. Now, I'm talking about the George Lucas Star Wars. This is a whole new generation, so I have to understand that they're not going to approach it quite the way George did. But I think it'd be wise to remember that they were made for children and adolescents. We just happen to hit the sweet spot where it appeals to the child in all audiences. Well, for the most part. I'm not a method actor in the sense that I'm, you know, cranky and reclusive on set. You know, I like people, and I like having fun. I like having fun.
I heard you.
All right. Yeah. I said, I only have 2 requests. I don't want to do a cameo, and I want to run of the trilogy role. So see how well that worked out for me?
Thank you.
You come back to it. What's that like? Well, the first instinct is, oh boy, I get to work with Harrison and Carrie again. And then you read the script for 7.
Luke's story was kind of depressing and dark, and I'm just naturally a sort of optimistic, fun person. So Rian really pushed me into out of my comfort zone. And
We just said, wait a second, I know Jedis don't give up. Not important to the audience, important to the actor to know, hey, what happened between the last one and this one, where the most optimistic guy in the galaxy becomes a suicidal, cranky old man telling people to get off his lawn. You know, it was like they say you can never go home again. And in a way, I thought, well, that's not true. Here I am coming home again. But it was a house I didn't recognize at all. So that was the challenge.
So my question was, if you were in the director's chair, if you were writing the script, what would be your take on Luke Skywalker for
I want
this?
to hear this.
No, listen.
What would you do, motherfucker?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I told...
Hi guys, remember me? I'm tangentially connected with this production.
It's heavy on him. It's just the realization that in this trilogy, it's not Luke Skywalker, he's Obi.
I had a long conversation with him. His first thing was you know...
That's part of the fun of Star Wars from the very beginning is this fan speculation, and you won't have... It's less than a week before you'll find out, and I can't wait to experience the movie with the fans, the greatest fans in the galaxy. So, you know, all we can do now is wait for it. How's that for a non-answer? I can't tell you what I've been doing for 30 years. I have short-term memory loss.
It's almost like a tradition now. It's just not a Star Wars film until someone loses a limb. Someone's got to lose something, and they will when you see The Last Jedi.
Thank you so much.
My
Are you
pleasure.
excited about the film coming out? Which film? Oh, you know. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, of course I am. Well, thanks so much.
Maybe more fun to play someone like that, because what I had a hard time with, I said, even though I picked Kylo Ren wrongly as the next hope, and that's on my conscience, I still said to Rian, I said, a Jedi would never give up. A Jedi wouldn't cut off his telepathic connection with his sister. It's just too radical. So I had to make up a backstory for myself that's much more severe than is in the movie, you know? I hate everything you've done to my character and disavow it. And but once I got that off my chest, I said, now lead me, oh guru. When I read 7, I thought, I'm never going to work with Harrison again. And then the real life tragedy of losing Carrie. That was like, well, you know, we'll never get the band back together again. That's life. You have to accept that. But I don't think I've fully recovered from that. But you just have to put in perspective and move on. So I'm more appreciative of what we had than...
I want to hear this. Thank you for asking me. Mark. No, I've only seen it 3 times. And the first time I was just with Mary Lou, my wife, and in an empty screening room at Disney. And I don't know, I felt like I got hit by a truck. I just didn't know how to react. I mean, 4 times. Because we were doing, I forget, 1, 7, 8, 9.5, whatever it was. And we got to visit when they were playing the card game with Donald, and a scene in the reflecting pool with a lot of kids in it. And I don't know if I told all in this, but I was watching and I was thinking, what he's doing so perfectly is But I had to, like I say, make up backstories that, besides picking, you know, thinking that Kylo Ren, you know, picking the new Hitler to be the next hope, that's on me. But there had to be more to me to justify even cutting off my telepathic communication with my sister. So
I mean, but that's my...
Inherently disappointing, but I think everyone agrees that the scene between you and Carrie in The Last Jedi, which we see in the documentary, is far from disappointing. It's
Well, that's the
incredible.
scene when I see the film, it just takes me totally out of the film. It'll take me a while to get over that. And I started making the emotional disconnect that I need to go through when I read 7. Not the fact that I was just in at the end, the fact when I realized, oh my gosh, I'll never get to work with Harrison Ford again. That was the first big
Opening, got on the plane, flew to London, saw it the next day in London. That's twice. That'll do me. And both of them were contractually obligated. And, you know,
the work would stop on set, and half the crew would be like, "Oh, that's so adorable," and half the crew would be kind of giving it the side eye a little bit. Things start, yeah.
Who didn't like it? The Porg.
I tweeted it with the hashtag. I tweeted
Put their hand up.
Nobody.
No, I tweeted with the hashtag wholesome pornography. And the Disney executives were not
They did not like that.
No, because as a children, listen, people forget that these movies were made for children.
No, they're made for middle-aged nerds now.
This film is, I think, more challenging and has more depth. It's more cerebral. It's also very funny in parts, but it's probably my favorite one since Empire Strikes Back.
To experience recording The Last Jedi.
Emotionally difficult, but so much fun because the crew is spectacular.
I mean, Oscar Isaac and, you know, everybody, Benicio del Toro, Return, all these people. It's like one of the best casts I've ever been near. Because I only got to work with Daisy and Adam Driver, but very much isolated. So I was sort of separate from the rest of the cast. But those films are all episodic anyway, cutting.
So if I only asked for 2 things, no cameos and a run of the trilogy part. See how well that worked out for me? But
I would just like to ask, what were you thinking during that one scene at the end of episode 7? That one masterful, beautiful 30 seconds.
My only suggestion was, let's say that Luke doesn't come into the story until episode 8, and then that moment will be a big surprise. Well, that was my idea. I thought, if you advertise Carrie and Harrison and me, that's at least an implied reunion of some sort. And if we don't give them that, plus with what happens to Harrison's character, if I turn around and the audience goes, "Oh," like it's a big gimmick, I'm the one with egg on my face, JJ, not you or Kathy. So I was just worried it wouldn't work.
The Jedi to end. And I said, what? The most optimistic, hopeful character in the entire trilogy is now this cynical, bitter, elderly recluse?
I saw how brief my role was. What surprised me, sort of disappointed me, is when I realized, I'm never going to get to work with Harrison again. That's tough. So I only asked for 2 things. No cameos and a run of the trilogy contract. So I'm over 2.
Mark Hamill speaking out against his masters yet again. Disney and Rian Johnson throwing them under the bus for what they did to his beloved character Luke Skywalker.
Mark Hamill has been one of the most vocal, honest actors I've ever seen. About a movie. Most actors, they do everything they can to promote the movie, and he did not like what Rian Johnson did with Luke. You have to be an expert psychologist to understand that the actor does not really adhere to this vision of things. Mark Hamill liked Rogue One, but has one advice for Disney. They should slow down on the release schedule for the movies, or else they might oversaturate the fans.
He doesn't directly come out and call Rian Johnson dung to his face, but he puts out some low-key shade on Twitter. And it's very telling of his state of mind about this issue. Here's the tweet from Cameron White, Crazy Cam. It says, "Why did Luke give up in The Last Jedi? What other events made Luke give up? From what we know, Luke made one mistake and he gave up. That doesn't really make sense. Could you please help me understand?" And Mark's reply is, here. Mark Hamill, "When I understand, I'll let you know. Snap."
Quoting Mark Hamill, "I will say they should pace themselves because you don't want to oversaturate it. I said to Disney, really? 5 months after we come Solo, a Star Wars story? Can't you at least wait until Christmas? But they've got these things booked."
He was asked about George Lucas. Mark said this, obviously in translation. "When I have George on the phone, we are talking about the 7th and 8th movies. But I will not betray his trust and I will keep what he tells me confidential. I'm sure it was very hard for him to let go of his creation, just as it is for me to be part of something when he is no longer our guide. But you have to roll with the punches and hope for the best. Hope for the best, but expect the worst."
It's not just for me. The fans would have wanted Luke's fate to take another direction. I like being out of my comfort zone, but that was extreme. Hamill admits that it was difficult to respect Johnson's wishes because he feels, in a way, a feeling of ownership for Luke.
Hamill said, "I'm not only in disagreement, I'm insulted."
Hamill appearing on The Big Bang Theory was not the story that you guys were telling me about. The story was that Mark Hamill wore a shirt that resembled, it was a black shirt, and the image on it resembled a dark Mickey Mouse type figure. And a lot of you guys were telling me that Mark Hamill was pretty much throwing shade at Disney with this shirt. And so I finally checked it out. I finally saw the scene on The Big Bang Theory, and I also saw an article on this. And so it actually turns out that the shirt is designed, or was designed, by Mark Hamill's son, Nathan Hamill. And so after reading the article, I thought, oh, well, you know, it's just a shirt designed by his son. Of course, Mark Hamill wants to show off his son's artwork. But here's the thing as well. I think it is very interesting that Mark Hamill chose this particular shirt. He could have wore any shirt that he wanted out of, you know, all the shirts that he owns. And he decided to wear this one. And so we know it wasn't a matter of the costume department at the Big Bang Theory or wardrobe or whoever, you know, dresses these guys. But this was certainly Mark Hamill's decision because it happens to be his son's shirt, or the shirt that hit.
The new generation is so capable, they don't need me.
Oh, hang on a minute, Daisy. Did you hear that?
Yeah, no, listen, they do
we
all
need
the,
you,
they,
and we want you,
they,
Mark.
They do all
we
the
need
heavy,
you every day.
They do all the heavy lifting, and I look forward to, you know, I love
significant. It was presented to me as a very significant moment of this is Star Wars. Yeah. You know, and that was, and as a family, that kind of was really united us. That we loved this, and it was special, and it was so transporting.
So how fun for you then to eventually become a part of it.
And
not like these people who couldn't care less.
They couldn't care less. But when I was little, I used to.
You know, I don't like being pushed out of my comfort zone. I thought, well, Harrison didn't get pushed out of his comfort zone. He's flying spaceships, making wisecracks and being cynical. Why am I so different? But it's really important for the story. And I came to realize, first of all, it's not my story anymore. You know, we really have to tell the story of the new protagonist. So, you know, eventually.
And I have to be honest, it was just for Harrison. I was just, it was much more of a chemistry thing. We was just trying to, you know. Okay.
Like I say, it took me a while to get there, but once I got there, I was fine with it. But my initial reaction, it wasn't so much that this closes my story and I'm done. It wasn't that. It was just that I thought that there was a misunderstanding of how I saw a Jedi. And I said to Rian, this is fundamentally flawed because a Jedi wouldn't give up. That's one of the tenets of being a Jedi. Now, he resolves that, and I eventually don't give up. But I said to him, I said, it would maybe if I took a year off, I could handle this, but 30 years seems like a lot. But look, I mean, I wish in a way that I hadn't revealed.
Luke was always so optimistic and represented that side of us, that never give up hope. And to see him say that it was as shocking to me as I'm sure it will be to the fans.
Can you tell me about your presence in this film? Because the last one, you didn't have any lines. It was, you know, small, but are we going to see a lot more of you in this next installment?
Hopefully my part will be twice as big.
Just twice? What about 10 times as big?
We shall see.
Okay.
Well, obviously, Luke is in a much darker place now. He wants the Jedi to end. Believe me, I'm as shocked to have read that as you will be to see it.
You know, I read Star Wars and I go, everybody has a personality in this movie except me. The robots are funnier than you.
I call them Star Wars, Empire, Jedi. Now I got to, what am I going to call this one?
Last. Call it last.
Yeah.
Call it the.
Yeah. Episode 9, the last paycheck.
We're gonna end on. I think we're gonna end on that. Yep, that's it. On that one liner. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you, guys.
What makes Rian such an amazing writer and director?
He's very
awkward.
quick.
No, skip it. Skip it.
Very
No.
quick. I like that he's really fast.
No one else? Okay. That would do. Let's.
If it doesn't make you want to go out of the theater, get your spaceship toys and run around the backyard, it's not a Star Wars movie.
Wait a second, this is really nervous. Why are they saving me my fall down the stairs for the last shot of the last day? I find that highly suspicious.